Hey everybody, I hope that you are doing amazingly well. Cameron and I have a bunch of irons in the fire right now. We are incredibly busy and inundated with the work of the Lord. In fact, there's no way we could sustain this kind of pace and do all the things we're doing if it wasn't for the fact that we're certain God has asked us to do these things, and He is supernaturally sustaining us and giving us the grace to do all this stuff. And it's been incredible. I feel like Gumby. I'm being stretched in my faith, and I know Cameron is too. But I wanted to take a minute to pop above the surface and inform you about a few exciting things, ask you for some help, ask you for prayer, and make sure that I'm faithful to keep you informed as my family, as my friends, partners with us in this ministry. I always love keeping you up to date and up to speed with what God is doing in the ministry. And as always, there's just way too many things to update you on, so I'm picking a few that are really the most important right now. The first is obviously with our film, Show Me Your Glory. We have finished the structure and the story arc of the film. We're in version 3, so we're starting to now tweak the little things, and we're going to start dressing it up with special effects and sound and all kinds of amazing things to make it look even better and better and to be higher and higher quality. But we wanted to get some fresh eyes on it recently. Because we've been in the weeds for so long, we forget the 10,000 foot view. And so we needed to bring some people in and say, hey, listen, we need constructive criticism. We need some good feedback. So last Saturday night, we had 30 people over to watch a screening of the film in its rough draft state. Very rough draft. And we received tremendous feedback, it was encouraging. Obviously, Cameron and I are the most critical of our own art and what we do. It's easy for us to be hard on ourselves because we want excellence, and we're doing this for the Lord. We want it to be the best. We want Him to be glorified in what we do. So He deserves excellence. But it's easy to beat up on yourself and expect more than maybe you should sometimes. So it was really encouraging to see the folks watch our film and how they reacted to it. We had a survey at the end that they filled out. We had a good time of discussion. And we got some incredibly good points to take back to the editing room and help to edit the film in areas that we didn't really see. So that was really, really great, and lots of encouragement on the positive side. In fact, some folks were utterly rocked by the film. In fact, one young lady has always struggled in her life to understand why there's so much suffering in this world and how God could be a part of that. And she's been told her whole life that you just have to have enough faith and you'll get the miracle. And if you don't get the miracle, it's because you didn't have enough faith. And while we know that that's true in some regards, we saw that with Jesus in his hometown of Nazareth. They didn't have much faith, and so obviously he wasn't able to perform as many miracles there. And we see time and time again when he does perform miracles, how people say, or Jesus would say, your faith has healed you. So we know faith is a critical component to being able to see God move in our lives and around us, and to do things that He may not do if we don't ask. It says in James that we don't have because we didn't ask God. And so we know that prayer is important. We know that faith is important, but to put the blame on ourselves that we didn't have enough faith, and that's why something incredibly tragic happened, or this person wasn't healed, or whatever the case may be, that's just not good theology. It's not true, and it can be very damaging to a person in their walk with Christ. And so she felt totally freed from that pressure and began to really be able to see how God uses suffering for His glory and for our good in the long, grand scheme of eternity. And so we got to see really cool stuff like that to say, hey, listen, God was like, Eric, Cameron, I'm going to use this thing in a really big way, and I'm going to really encourage and grow people through it, and I'm going to lead a lot of people to Christ through it. And so we were just really pumped to have that time together. So that was the first thing. Second thing, it's with fear and trepidation and a little bit of insecurity and embarrassment that I announced the 700 Club did release my story for Veterans Day yesterday. And it's linked in this email, so you're able to check it out. Again, just to reiterate, I did this out of obedience. I didn't want to do it, especially because of the material they wanted me to talk about, and it's stuff that I'd never confessed in front of anybody before. But again, I was just being obedient to the Lord, and I pray that God would use it, that He would get a hold of people that have experienced tremendous trauma and they're struggling with how to cope, and they're not running to God. Instead, they're running to worldly coping mechanisms, and they're continuing to live in darkness rather than crawling up into Abba Father's lap and just discontinuing running and hiding from him and covering their nakedness, being able to just go to Father and say, we need help and we're struggling. So I hope that many people are blessed by it, and I wanted to share that with you, not because I want to, but because I think that's good stewardship to make sure people are able to see this and hear it, and that way more people could be helped by it. And then last but not least, things to celebrate. So what had happened was, some of you are going to think I'm crazy, some of you are going to judge us for this, but it's not like we didn't already have enough stuff going on in our lives. But as we were filming the movie and as we were in the editing room, we realized we have way too much amazing content to fit into a 2-hour film. Like we could literally make like an 8-hour film or a 10-hour film. Just the Sean McDowell content, just the Craig Kokol content alone, the Craig Keener stuff, just that stuff alone, literally the film could be on just those characters, and let alone we have other subject matter experts, and we have all of these 8 characters that we filmed. It's crazy how much content we have. So all that to say, it wouldn't be good stewardship for us to just abandon all that stuff and whittle the film down to this 2-hour film. And we really felt God tell us that we need to write a book and we need to expound upon what the film covers. And so when people see the film, they could be directed to the book for further study, to get further information. And so we're going to go a lot deeper in the book. And that way we're still using all of the material we got during this filming process and from my doctorate class that I used in conjunction with the film and this sort of thing. So long story short, Cameron and I are writing a book. It should be released during the time of the film, and we hope and pray that it would reach way more people. And the people that it does reach, that God would be able to go deeper with those people. So that's pretty exciting. Things to pray for. Oh, I do not like asking for help with anything. I don't like asking for help ever. It's pride, it's stubbornness, it's insecurity, it's all those things. I know some of you can relate to that. I know you can. It's human nature, especially for guys, I think. But I think for a lot of people in general. And so I've always struggled with asking people for help financially in our ministry. I've always struggled with fundraising. I've never really wanted to do it. And I've always loved the George Mueller book, his autobiography, that he never asked anybody for anything. He just prayed and God supplied. And that was really good for him. As a former criminal who struggled with money, God, I think, tested him his whole life to do things incognito like that. For me, God has asked me to ask people to partner with us, and I believe that God uses fundraising to get a hold of people's heart, that they would sacrificially give and sacrificially partner with God to help build the kingdom and to help win people to Christ and to help grow and expand the church, the body. And so that is what I'm doing. I'm asking people to join in the opportunities that God has through this ministry. God's obviously moving in our ministry, and so I'm asking you to prayerfully consider partnering with us in that way. If you're already partnered with us, prayerfully considering deepening that partnership. I humbly ask, and it's because I truly believe in what God's doing through this that I ask, knowing that you'll be blessed, that I'll be blessed, but more importantly, that God will be glorified through that giving and through our efforts. So with that being said, specifically, we still need $354,999 for Show Me Your Glory. That is getting it into theaters. That is the grand scheme of distribution and being able to reach as many people as possible. Secondly, for 2025 walkabouts, we still need $83,000. So we've been doing pretty well and receiving fundings for next year's camp season, which is great. And that leads me to my next thing we need prayer for, which is expanding our ministry. So the reason we don't need as much money for the walkabout ministry next year is because we're not going to be bound and tied to a physical base camp. We're actually raising up fighter units, little mobile units that can go and meet sending ministries in different places, whether it be the Ozarks or whether it be the Sierras on the West Coast or whether it be the Appalachians on the East Coast. We're not tied to one specific area. We can begin to send out these mobile units to help ministries run their own walkabout. Simultaneously, we're going to be training up these ministries more and more so they can do it on their own and helping supply the needs that they have in order to continue to do that and to adopt these traditions, to initiate young fatherless men into a life with God and into godly manhood. So that's beautiful. And we're creating the resources to do it. So there'll be a how-to video and all these types of things to help grow. So instead of being limited to like 12 trips a summer in one location, and that's all we can do, and it being super expensive, we just don't want to scale to where we have like 8 physical base camps and we're a multi-million-dollar operation. That's not sustainable. It's not responsible. We don't feel called to do it. What we do feel called to do is to equip other ministries and to multiply and to show them the trade secrets, what God has shown us and how to do what we do. And that would multiply, that they'd begin to show others how to do it as well, and they'd have their own and adopt their own style of walkabout ministry and continue the tradition. So I'm excited about that. Please pray for wisdom and discernment as we expand that area of the ministry, and also that the helpers we need to run these mobile units would feel that call. We've already had some that have been called to do it, but that more and more would feel that call to give their lives to the work of the ministry and to submit to God's plan for their life in that way. And then last but not least, we have Giving Tuesday coming up, which is crazy. If you don't know about Giving Tuesday, last year I believe it was on December 3rd, and there was $3.5 billion donated on December 3rd last year on that one day. So Giving Tuesday is like a, hey, end of year giving, bless a ministry or a nonprofit or a cause that you feel led to give to. And it's just a day that everybody kind of rallies around, one day of giving. And so this year it's on December 2nd, and we would be remiss and regretful to not share that with you, that we are an option. And would you please prayerfully consider sowing into this ministry on December 2nd for Giving Tuesday 2024? That would be amazing. And we'll thank you for it. And I mean that with sincerity. I work from home. We try our best in every way to not have big administration costs for our ministry. We try in every way, with every dollar that's donated, to steward it with excellence, knowing that we'll be held accountable by God, but knowing that it's so often not done well. It's not done well because administration costs and building costs and all these types of things can become so expensive. And we have these huge, robust, business-like ministries that really require tremendous amounts of funding. And we just don't want to go in that route. We feel very led to be light, like fighter units that are light and nimble and don't carry a lot of overhead, so that the vast majority of what's donated to us can be used directly for mission. And so what that looks like is right around every year between 91 and 94% of all the money that comes in goes directly to mission. What is our mission? People ask us all the time. Of course, our mission is to end the fatherless epidemic through mentorship, through Christ-centered mentorship. That is a huge part of what we do. However, it's much bigger than that. At the end of the day, the fruit that we've experienced over the last 10 years has been primarily leading people to Christ, making disciples and baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that Jesus taught us and to send them out to multiply. All right, now you have committed to being a disciple of Jesus. Now it's your turn to go find disciples, to win people to Christ, make them disciples of Jesus. And that's how we expand the kingdom. That's the model Jesus left us. So beyond ending the fatherless epidemic and making disciples amongst the least, last, and lost in our communities, those without a dad, those that are oftentimes sort of destined to death or prison, early death, and discipling them and winning their hearts and pouring into them so that they can end the generational curse in their lives and have a beautiful family and live a beautiful life that represents Christ. That is certainly a huge part of our ministry. But I want to be clear. When money is given to our ministry, our primary goal is the Great Commission, because that's biblical. Our primary goal is to exalt the name of Jesus as far and wide as humanly possible. That's our goal, and that's what we want to do. And we are so blessed. Most people don't know this. Well, how in the world do you guys spend over 90% of your funding on mission? Here's how. And I don't think I've spoken to anybody about this before on here, but we have a couple of gracious donors that have committed to supporting my wife and I so we can put food on our table and pay our bills, and have really enabled us to get freed up from the pressure of having to figure out how we're going to do ministry and at the same time have a house and, pay bills and take care of our kids. That has alleviated the pressure on us so that the rest of our funding also can go towards mission. And so that's what's really beautiful about it. We don't really ever have to worry about that side of it. At least right now we don't. And so that's amazing, and it's unique. And so I could say it's really not just 92 or 93%, 91 to 94% that goes directly towards mission, because a lot of the huge bulk of the administration costs are covered by a couple of people that have committed and designated the funds to that. Really, if you look at it, most all the money that's donated to us and to our ministry goes directly to mission, and which is beautiful. And I'm really excited to say that. I wish and pray that more ministries would have the ability to do something like that, to where a majority of the money can be used directly for the Great Commission and other things, like-minded things. So that's where we're at. I'm so thankful for those of you that have partnered with us and been with us for so long. Some of you are absolutely on our minds all the time. We're praying for so many of you, and we miss you. A lot of you out there in Pagosa Springs and Houston, Texas, and all over the place. We just miss you a lot. We wish we can share more meals with you. But as one of my good friends, Doug, says, he says, we'll be able to share lots of meals in heaven. But while we're here, sharing meals together isn't our priority. Our priority is to do the work of the Lord. And so as we miss meals together, know that it's not without its purpose. That Cameron and I are here. We're working diligently every day, sometimes maybe more than we should, but our heart and our minds are geared towards bringing glory to the Father. And I pray the same for you. I pray that our lives, all of us, it would be lives that are pleasing and acceptable to the Lord, not because of what we've done, but because of what Jesus has done, and as a response to what he's done, out of a response because of the great love of God displayed on the cross and coming out of the grave, conquering sin and death, that because of that display, that we would be so excited about reciprocating that love, that we'd be willing to love God with all of our heart, mind, strength, and soul, and that would translate to using our hands and using our minds and our resources to bless God by serving those that need served, by being feet washers, by making a huge impact in the world, by reaching our neighbors everywhere we go, that the love of God would just permeate out of us and people would see it. That's my hope for all of us. I appreciate you so much for listening to this, and we will be praying for you. If you guys have any specific questions, please let us know. If God tugs on your heart, feel free to donate at the address on the screen, or you can go to our website, fatherlessepidemic.org, and click donate. Thank you so much. Love you. Bye-bye.